All right, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, October 18th, day 2 of the Charter School Review Board. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, sir.
The Charter Schools Review Board works to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the advisory board, or the review board that needs to be updated. Does any member of the review board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict of interest with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of any actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will be then your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. Hearing none, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rackley again.
Good morning, Melanie Rackley, Office of Charter Schools. We are a little bit, I guess, ahead of schedule. Our first applicant group will not appear until, I think, is that 9:30?
Oh yeah, it is 9:30.
Infinity Steam. So just to kind of preview next month, we have 4 applications that we'll hear from. So there'll be the 3 movement, that's Greensboro, Wilmington, and Gastonia, and then Hype Leadership Academy. That school, I think that's slide 34, sorry. That school has an EMO, actually a CMO as part of the Romine Group and the Capital Encore School. They are actually proposing a new CMO structure, so there's been due diligence on the Hype Leadership Academy application. There will be extra allotted time for you all to interview with the management organization, so kind of a glance ahead there. And then just a reminder, generally for today, 3 options that you have is to approve for Ready to Open, deny the school for Ready to Open, or hold over for that second round interview. That will take place in December. And currently we have 3 schools that you all, that will appear in December. That's the Triad International School. We have, I can't see that.
Carolina Achieve.
Okay, Carolina Achieve.
And Liberty Charter.
Right, and Liberty Charter, and that Liberty Charter also has the EMO attachment, ATA. So that's kind of the recap. If there's any questions or clarifying remarks that I can take now, otherwise we'll just wait for Infinity Steam to appear.
And just a quick follow-up from yesterday. So we heard you say, I think I heard you say correctly that for November Movement originally had 4 applications.
Correct.
They've since pulled 1.
Right, they have scratched Movement University City.
Okay.
Yes, and then also later today you will hear from the second reconsideration you have. So yesterday you heard from ALA Monroe, and then today you will hear from, this is just from last cycle's presentation, but Heritage Collegiate Leadership Academy, and this one was a Wake County application that was approved by this board and then was denied by state board.
And on the movement applications, did I hear you say yesterday, they have how many schools right now that they were planning to open this year but were delayed?
3.
3.
3 in delay status, pending amendment with Ms. Nowinski.
Okay.
Are they applying for them all to open at once?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, let's see, it's 3 different counties, Gaston County, Guilford County, and New Hanover. So Gastonia, Greensboro, and Wilmington. Yeah. Do you wanna maybe just go and do the intro to Steam, and then hopefully go?
And then just maybe, if I may, sorry.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Do you have what you need from us regarding those second round interview
And so,
questions?
yeah, I'll make that announcement. So I do have all of that. So Office of Charter Schools will compile all of those questions in a format that'll be easy for the applicant. We'll give them a minimum of 10 days to respond, so ample time ahead of the December meeting, and then allow the board to review those responses ahead of that in conjunction with the application and the summary feedback. So we'll provide that well ahead of schedule.
Thank you.
Yep. So, yep, I can go ahead and preview Infinity Steam if you'd like. And so they're slated for open in the Iredell-Statesville County. You have their mission statement here: provide equitable, engaging, integrated learning opportunities to help students of all backgrounds persist and reach their fullest potential in their chosen future pathway to become productive citizens. And so in year one, Infinity STEAM is slated to open with grades K2. With the 124 students that you see there, they round out year 5 with grades K6 with 312 students. They do anticipate being at full capacity grades K8 with 408 students. And so Infinity STEAM does plan to participate in the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program. They will provide bus service within a 7-mile radius. Weighted lottery will be in place for the economically disadvantaged students, and their slated location for their facility is in that 28677 zip code. They are not a repeat applicant, nor will they use the assistance of an EMO or CMO. And the Office of Charter Schools did deem their application complete. And the 312 students by year 5 are all from the Iredell-Statesville County School, so they're not projecting to pull, at least from any, their budget projections don't account for any other LEAs. And then on this slide here, you can actually look at their demographic projections relative to the Iredell-Statesville area. You can see kind of the subgroups and the EDS comparisons there. 5 charter schools within Iredell-Statesville, and then 38 traditional schools in the county.
Do you know what percent that is?
I'm sorry.
Do you know what percent of the,
Of
do you
the-
know of the charter schools are, what is the percent of the total student population?
I'd have to look in their application
Okay.
for that. Yeah, I can find that for you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can we get these are super helpful. Is there a way we could do like some deeper data analysis to get us a understanding around potential saturation?
So there are layers with the Tableau that actually give you like population density here, like in a particular area. I'm not sure if that's what you're getting at. And then there's also like a socioeconomic layer strata that we can place on here. Generally, we ask the applicant themselves to kind of do the saturation studies, but if there's something specific that you,
That's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
I want Office of Charter Schools to do like, or if we can pay some, like, I want a deeper, I think we really need to look at saturation comprehensively across the state. It would also be useful to get some comparison data from other states. I'm sure people like NACSA might have something like that.
Okay.
So that we could, like, I do think we have to, what percent of schools opened with 100% enrollment this year?
None.
I mean, I feel like this is a conversation that we need to have data to have like a realistic understanding and listening to the applicant is useless to me. I don't care what they say.
yeah,
Anybody
Noted.
can say anything.
sure.
What is the percent of schools in the public schools in the district? These are some of the questions I'm always wondering. What is the percent of public schools in the district that are at capacity, given the, like, what is the percent? All the public schools have this data. What percent are full? Right?
Sure.
I know in Durham, for example, we have 13 charter schools, and there are multiple middle school. There's like Lucas Middle. I think there's another one. There's some that are over capacity and some that are under capacity. And so like where you put a charter school is really relevant if we were to add another one. I think there's a school that's going in that has a middle school that's near Lucas, and that school is under capacity. And when if all of the charter schools were outperforming their projected numbers and ready to, like, we keep talking about this, right? They're not hitting their enrollment numbers. And I think we also need to look at what is the year over year, how quickly do they get to the thresholds that they're projecting in their applications? Like, I have so many data questions that I would like answered. And I just feel like we are, sometimes, at least in the past, and Bruce, you can, those of us that were on the board, I feel like we look at the rubric and we say, oh, you met the rubric, or your board is good, or, I think it is okay for us to prioritize rural schools, or schools that have minimal charters, and I think we said that, we looked at Crossnor yesterday. I think it's okay for us to ask the saturation questions, look at the data, and, which is cool, we've got some up here, like, and really evaluate that when we consider a charter.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think it's helpful to know, for example, let's use this school as an example. If there's 5 other charters already in the district, where is this school, A, in proximity to those other charters? B, are those other charters at capacity? If they're not, I mean, if they're not, that's not necessarily a reason not to support this applicant. It might be they're not because the school's not attractive to parents, right? Like on the flip side, I think we have another applicant coming up here this morning looking to go into Charlotte, Mecklenburg, which has a lot of charter schools, and my understanding is a lot of charter schools that are actually not at capacity. And so I think those are decisions that we have to,
Also,
or those
like,
are data points we should have to look at to
I just think to be data driven, like, there's just a lot of questions to answer. So the other piece is demographic, because if we get a school that is, well, okay, Saba. What are the number of, how many, like, when we could have looked at the total number of possible kids and divided it in half, because you already dramatically limited your pool of applicants. Then there's, what is the population of middle class white students? That is the growing population in Chatham County, right? Briar, Chapel, like, John knows this. But
Chatham Park, all that.
what is it?
Chatham Park.
Chatham Park. The demographic that they're recruiting is not growing in Chatham County.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's layers of slicing the data that, like, at my school, right now, like, we're trying to expand, cause like, we're leaving a whole set of students on the table in Durham that we don't really recruit. But we have had good luck with the recruitment, largely through the Hispanic population, because that population is like rapidly accelerating in Durham. But I think there's like, it's not just, schools get up here and they tell us we have 1,000 people on the wait list. Well, first of all, parents are on multiple wait lists, so that is something that we need to dig into too, although it's really hard to verify. But then the other question is like, what is the targeted location of the school? What is, like, really what is the population that you're trying to target? Because some of these schools will tell us that they're trying to target a low-income population when that's actually not. We all know that that's not entirely honest.
So are you implying that we should tell them where to locate?
No, I think that's not our decision to make.
Right.
We can
But
say
it's
like, hey, you might
underlying
want to
it.
think somewhere else, but I think our decision is, realistically, based on data, do we think you're gonna hit your enrollment in 1 year? I think we have to have an extended timeline. Maybe we could make a recommendation as a charter school review board for that and just do it,
But I
but,
think what you're talking about becomes more and more important as there are more charter schools, right? When there were 103, it was not, but
Sorry.
whatever.
yeah,
But,
we have 211 now.
but if I might, didn't we just, in the last couple of months, in this county, tell a school where they had to locate?
No, well, no, that,
I mean,
I
or
wouldn't
where
word
they
it, I
could
wouldn't word it that,
Okay.
we had a school that the original application was out of Cabarrus County. And because of some situations with local politics, they knew they couldn't get the school, approved in Cabarrus County. They came to us and requested to keep the application the same, but move it, a little bit north into Iredell County, basically across the border, right? What we put on that stipulation was we were okay with that, but we did put in the disclaimer that they couldn't go north of Statesville itself, largely I think if I remember correctly, Todd, yes, because of some of the saturation already in that area, but also going that far north, that wasn't just on the Cabarrus-Iredell County line. That was like a significant change in location. And so we approved that, but then they subsequently have pulled that charter out. Yeah.
It was, and a lot of it too was because of how far parents were gonna have to, they thought the school was gonna be here, now that it's gotta be clear over here, and then
Yeah,
we're gonna be, transportation is
I'm
gonna
trying to
be an
give
issue.
I'm trying to think of a good example. If you were,
I
if you were
mean, I
saying,
have an example from a school that I am helping with getting started, West Triangle High School, that I was on the board of. I'm transitioning soon, but we had a project that was like smack in this like incredible location, right west of Durham, right east of downtown. It was like a dream, and it got blocked because of politics. And now we've had to move further towards Mebane, and you know, part of that is, okay, we know we need we're evaluating timelines and looking at how much ramp do we need to recruit students, because that's a different, you know, we have to send buses farther, that's gonna affect the budget, we need to project more kids from Alamance, so that also is gonna, there's all the, like, you move, there's a bunch of factors.
yeah, but you're also, if I remember correctly though, you're going to a place that also isn't already saturated.
No,
There's
it's
a
not,
void
and it's a
there.
massively growing,
Yeah.
but to me, that's an argument, like, hey, this
Sure.
is a good location. I guess, like, my thing is I would like, I know you all have a lot to do, but I think that, like, we need somebody who's like, has like like, I would request from the Office of Charter
Jenny
Schools,
Cohen.
Ashley, is like, can we have someone
Yeah.
who we say, like, a chunk of your work time is to produce data on some of these questions, like, because I just think, and I said this when I was in Bruce's role, like, authorization is the best method of accountability. It's not closing schools, it's not renewing schools, it is authorization. Because when a charter school, generally it gets open, it's not like Saba, it's gonna be open for about 5 years. And if you estimate, I've run the average numbers, and it's like, basically that's $15 million that school, of taxpayer dollars that school is gonna use. So to me, I try to look at this as like, this is a $15 million 5-year grant that we're about to provide to a school board, a proposed school. And to me, it's like authorization is the best accountability point, because when they come, that's our opportunity to really test. And I think if we don't have all of the data and are thinking about all these competing factors, it's hard for us to make like data-driven decisions about it. So I'm gonna stop, but I mean, I'm sorry, y'all, you can text me or tell me to shut up if I'm talking too much, but you gave me 2 years off the board to pontificate, and it's all coming out, so I apologize.
I would say that in regards to the
It is.
situation, there were
I'm
LEA
watched, I've
impact
listened.
statements that we no longer obviously
In here.
consider, but a lot of what was in the LEA impact statements from the district themselves were the saturation points and the capacity and the building.
Well, they all said
Again,
that.
I don't believe them either.
Yeah.
I don't believe them. Like, I believe data, right?
But
What
we
is,
have to get the saturation
A lot of
like
data
data
also.
from I mean, if
It's
we
a
wanna
big
get
way.
saturation data for like Wake County, we usually have to go to the districts. Like, there's no, I know of no source other than going to the districts for saturation data.
but I think it's out there. Like, we just found an Orange County board minute report that was in the board presentation that showed us basically a discrepancy in what we found out from the district about their actual projections and where the schools were overcrowded. So we were up before the county commission, basically saying, hey, this is what and they were saying, this is what the district is saying. Now we come to find out, like, they have a new projection, and they have more schools that are at capacity and a higher projection of population growth in that county. So I think it's like, this is hard. Like, it's gonna maybe require someone digging through some board minutes of state,
Iredell.
School districts, that's why, like, I know it's a pain, but it's like, that's why I'm like,
Maybe-
can we,
maybe-
and I would say, like, the legislature needs to fund this, but like, can we have someone or contract someone to do this level of like data analysis for your team? And, you know, that quote, right, in God we trust, all others bring data.
Let's call Jenny Corn.
Yeah.
These people, there are people, I don't
Yeah, no,
know
no.
your budget, but I think you.
Well, I can tell you it's not much.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it should be a
As
lot.
they know,
It should
when I
be a
tell
lot
them, we
more.
gotta
It should
think
be a
about
lot
who's
more.
traveling.
But I heard somebody say yesterday in a conversation, like, I love the data piece, and so I don't know which one of that team was,
Yeah.
but if we could.
This wouldn't be this isn't as digging deep as you're suggesting we need to go, but I think one thing that might be helpful would be, like the example about the school we're about to interview. Okay, there are five other charter schools. What are those schools at capacity? Again, I want to caution that a school not being at capacity may not mean that there's not demand.
Totally agree.
Right.
Totally
They
agree.
may not be at capacity because,
There's school choice demand,
well,
right?
yeah.
But I also think the population you're trying to recruit, right? Because there's like, here's the total population of kids. Here's the kids on the wait list. We're gonna serve a low-income Black and Hispanic population. Well, you just cut the percent of, we face this with Asheville Peak. When you actually ran the numbers, I was like, I tried to help them with some stuff. And I was like, there's only 700 kids in Asheville who actually fit the demographic you're trying to hit, even though there's like 10,000 kids in the district. So it's like, when you slice it based on the actual percent, so it's like, they'll tell us, oh, there's all these kids on wait lists, there's all this demand. But then we're trying to recruit this like very narrow percentage of students. Well, you just cut in half the target market, right? And I'm not suggesting that we get this like tomorrow for the next set of applicants, and I'm just saying like over time, like as we say, okay, here's the applications, can we now like gather this over the next like 3 months?
And Alex, I think it'd be fair to say that we're only talking probably, what, 4 or 5 districts?
Yeah,
Where this is really
yeah,
an issue.
yeah,
It's
I
not,
mean-
it's not every district, it's Iredell, it's,
Right, the largest
it's Charlotte
cities.
Mac, it's Wake, it's Durham, I mean, it's,
I mean, I will say I would be very, I agree with the data. Like and I think when like, you know, the data we have now for applications is more robust than it's ever been. And then also that
You've done an awesome
when
job.
we do renewals, the data, I mean, they spend a significant amount of their time doing data analysis for renewals. But, for applications, I am definitely very cognizant of making things very objective. So like when I'm hearing you, what I'm kind of envisioning is something that would be like a data analysis for every applicant.
That's
Like,
right.
I think we would have to be very careful that every
Right.
single applicant gets the same exact type of, regardless of where they,
I agree.
you know, where they wanna be located, so that it's very standard.
Data-driven decision-making for this board, not, because I think it's actually what we get into subjectivity when we get like a good board of diverse people and we're like, oh, they're great.
Yeah.
Well, okay. They've never run a charter school before and they don't have a leader yet.
I wonder if we can frame questions in the application that would kind of
Get to some of that.
allow some of that objectivity that you're seeking directly and put the onus on the applicant to provide if there's like particular places you would like them to source that from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
may.
mean, when we applied for West Triangle, it was a replication coming out of an existing school that had resources. We paid $5,000 for a pretty extensive feasibility study. And part of that was just do we actually think that this is doable? I wish we could make applicants pay for that, but I know that's unreasonable.
It seems to me that asking school districts for data should not be problematic.
Yes.
What we've gotten in the past has been their interpretation of the data that we did not get. They had the data, they interpreted it, they told us what their interpretation was.
The letters.
Right, in a letter. What if they have data, I think asking for it is fine, and I don't see any reason that they would have to give us incorrect data because it's gonna be public.
Right, it's
Yeah.
public, like,
It's
and
public
like,
at
we are like a state board at DPI. Like, we should be able to ask if the state board is responsible and charged for the education of students in North Carolina, how can we not say, okay, districts, you need to fill out this report. Forget the letter of intent where you give us a bunch of 3 pages of why this is gonna be like an equity issue in your district that doesn't have data. Like, here is a data sheet that you need to fill out this spreadsheet. Every school at capacity, number of students, projections on number of students that are coming. I saw, they were the guy from News and Observer was posting on Twitter last night, all of the updated, for Wake County, this school is gonna have to go to, locations, this school is gonna have to go to a multi-track. Like, okay, that's important. Like, if you're having to run 3 schools in one building, maybe we actually could, I looked at it, and I was like, we could put more charter schools in Wake County when I saw that. I was like, if this is what's going on, like, they have 120,000 students. Like, we could actually, this might actually make sense, you know? But I think, again, I'm a data person. I want to make data-driven decisions on this board, not just kind of look at a board and try to, like, get a gut feel.
I think specifically with Wake County, its size in general is where that data is so disparate. You know, getting data for Wake County's capacity versus Wake Forest versus Angier will be entirely different when discussing what charter schools will be successful where. And I can imagine when you pull up that tableau of the more rural counties, that data is not as disparate.
But, like, they have it.
Yeah.
And, like, I was involved with PAVE Southeast Raleigh, now RISE. We had a very specific target market, and recruitment was hard because it was in one very narrow, like, location with one. We basically said we're recruiting low-income students. Well, that's what, 30% of Wake County as a whole?
As a whole, right?
We're
But not with that
leaving
little location.
70% of the potential applicants off the table. We're not even trying to target them. So I think, like, again, and we need to ask those questions of the applicants, but I think we just need to, like, make sure that we're actually under the surface of just like, Wake County has 120,000 kids. Well, who are you targeting and where is it? And, you know.
And the applications team will be leading a review of the application before because it's coming up, it opens in January, so that's gonna be part of our next couple of months. And with the new legislation for remote academies, we need to add an entire section for remote academies that now can be approved. So I think a lot of this is good discussion to kind of think about what we wanna add to the application as well and our processing of those.
Okay, my last thing, I'll say this around what you just said about discussion, like, and I don't want the agenda to be longer, and I have to leave early, but we have a playoff soccer game, way more important, sorry, love you guys. We have to win, I'm the head coach. But sometimes I think part of our job, particularly with the additional responsibility that's been ceded to the board, is like, our job is to make and advocate for effective charter policies. Our mission is to ensure high quality schools in North Carolina. It's not just to review applications, right? Like, part of our job is to have these conversations as charter leaders and advocates and experts, and then help make the application process better, and also like push for like policy recommendations that will improve the effectiveness of charter schools. I've always felt that, and sometimes I feel like we get on a tangent, and it's like, I feel bad about it personally because I'm like delaying the process, but part of it is like, I think it's needed. I think it's really needed.
We
And
do
again,
have a new role here.
Yes.
We do have
We have
a
a
new
new role.
role, and that's gonna require
A
that
whole new
we
role.
change some of what we do. And,
I think it's
we
gonna
have to be
also,
thoughtful about what those changes are.
yeah, I think we have to look at also, calendar-wise too, when those conversations happen, like, I mean,
We're in an application cycle.
yeah, so once we get past the application cycle, I think maybe that's the time for focus on those kinds of things, and take notes of them as we go through, get through the application process, and then get into that kind of conversation. I think to be thoughtful about it and plan it out and do it the right way.
Well, but the other piece is like, if we're taking applications in January, it's like, these are implications that are literally going to have, like, in 3 months. We need to be way out ahead of it. I would advocate for like a couple day full-on retreat where we go deep into some
And this is all
policy
we talk
stuff in
about.
the summer, and that's not even like where we don't vote on anything, but we maybe ask for some experts to come and kind of like give us some data analysis and the charter school board has more time to do that stuff, and Andrew Smith, who just walked in the back, can talk about all the smart things that he's doing. I'm pretty sure that's him back there. I saw the bow tie. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna shut up.
So we did have a buffer and we asked the boards to check their agenda time. We did make those changes. So I think originally there may have been a 9:45. I don't know if we want to take a
Yes, take a break.
coffee break.
Is it okay if we take a break? Use the
Yeah,
restroom?
we'll take 5 minutes and see if they,
Get
show
here.
up.
And see
Yeah.
if there are 2 or 3 things that
This is 9:30 on the agenda.
I know.
Yeah.
upcoming applications.
Well, if they don't,
That was just coming out early.
I think asking
Right.
this.
exactly, always be early.
It's a lot of time.
Especially for this.
Create, like, we can require the district to create a data, say, this is the data that we need. You have to create a report.
Good morning.
I am a 22-year veteran of education in North Carolina, and I've taught science for about 18 years. And I am the founder of this proposed charter school. And my passion about it, coming from a high school science background, I would always see children who were just there to get the diploma, just there for a piece of paper, and maybe not even staying around for that. It seems like, when they start out kindergarten, they're super excited about school and excited about learning, and then over time, it's become, less and less and less, and now you're just trying to get them through and keep them out of trouble. So I feel like, this kind of education is, that's my passion, to try to kind of help circumvent that. So this is Leon Ines, he's one of our board members. I have two other ones online with us, and one of them, she's a guidance counselor, and they're participating in college application week at her school, so she's helping seniors. So according to the Iredell County Economic Development Corporation, the county has seen a 20% population growth since 2010. From 2021 to 2022 alone, there has been a 2.3% growth. Iredell County is the third fastest growing county in the Charlotte region, and has the third fastest growth in new industrial development in the Charlotte region. BestPlaces.net projects the future job growth in Iredell County to be higher than the national average over the next 10 years. This accelerated growth, while good for the economy, presents challenges for the county. The first is the overcrowding of schools. Both Iredell Statesville Schools and Mooresville Graded School District received funds to build new schools with a 2020 school bond. This year, Mooresville Graded opened a new middle school, while ISS is still in negotiations with the county commissioners and have yet to begin construction on their new high school. ISS will soon be in desperate need of a new elementary school to meet the needs of the county's population growth, but this will not happen anytime soon, since they are currently in limbo over the new high school. Another challenge of the increasing job market is to produce workers capable of doing jobs that require a skilled workforce. Part of the mission of Infinity STEAM Academy is to develop future-ready skills in students that can be transferred to any chosen career field. The school will use problem and project-based learning to promote critical thinking and problem solving. The school will offer early career exploration and career counseling so that students develop a clear vision and pathway for their futures. Despite all the prosperity and growth in Iredell County, it is still a county of inequities. The northern end is very rural. The middle, which includes the county seat of Statesville, is one of the more urban areas. The south end is home to Lake Norman and the more affluent population of the county. The median household income of Mooresville, which is a southern city, is $75,000, and about 8% of the residents live below the poverty line. In contrast, the median household income in Statesville is about $43,500, and almost 20% of the residents live below the poverty line. Following a common trend, the schools in ISS that have the highest population of students living in poverty also have the lowest school report card grades. Although ISS employees are working tirelessly to increase student achievement in these areas, it is clear that something different is needed. Studies have shown that STEM or STEAM education can both increase reading and math scores, as well as foster student engagement in learning. Which brings us back to the matter of equity. Several ISS schools have applied to be North Carolina STEM School of Distinction, and only one has made the cut. Lakeshore Elementary is the only school in ISS that has been awarded the title, and this school is located in the southern end of the county. Achieving this title means that a school has fully embraced the concept of immersive STEM education. It offers regular opportunities for students to design and problem solve, work in teams, and explore connections to the real world. In these schools, STEM is a culture instead of just an elective class or club. This type of school is lacking in the areas of Iredell County that need it most. Infinity STEAM Academy will use the STEAM culture as a vehicle for the application of learning. In addition to their daily explicit reading and math instruction, students will learn through interdisciplinary units driven by problem-based learning, project-based learning, and inquiry-based learning. Many times, these integrated units will have a STEM focus and include related reading and applied math concepts, social studies, social and emotional learning, and the humanities. This type of learning mimics real life and helps students see the importance of all subjects. The arts have been included to help foster creativity and give students a variety of ways to show their learning. Classroom instruction will be supplemented by electives, including computers and coding, art and music, and physical education and social and emotional learning. Infinity STEAM Academy will create an environment in which students learn by talking, doing, and creating. Learning will be cohesive to show students that all learning matters. Learning will be purposeful and connect to career exploration. Infinity STEAM Academy will bring early, equitable, engaging learning opportunities to the target population who will benefit the most. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you you said you had two other board members online. Who are they?
Yes, I have Teresa Evans. She is a former principal and has her degree in business administration. And then I have Kenneth Wallace. He's a community pastor, and he has managerial experience.
So is Jennifer Trent still on the board, but she's not here today?
That's correct. She's the guidance counselor at her school, and she's got senior meetings all day. So,
Thank you very much for that introduction. So now we're going to go into sort of a deliberation period of us asking questions of
Okay.
you. Typically, what we like to do here is we're just going to toss out some questions collectively from the board members. So you might want to write some of these
Okay.
down, and then you can kind of respond to them here shortly.
do you have anyone that has a pen that I can use? Anyone? Thank you.
So with that, I open up to CSRB members. What questions do you have for the applicant?
I'd like to see someone with finance or real estate experience on the board.
Okay.
I see a lot throughout the application relating to STEM, but not as much as the arts and STEAM. They note that they're gonna have 5 professional days worked out for the teachers to be trained. And I wanna know if that's just 5 days for the whole year or what? Diversity, how would they make their students feel important?
Are you all planning to just take students from Iredell County?
That was the initial plan, but we're open to other possibilities as well.
Because I'm just looking at your budget and
Right.
all the students are directly from, is that because of location or?
The location, the target population is the urban areas of Statesville that are I guess the ones that are, living in the most poverty. So that was the target population, but of course, other ones can apply as well.
I have a few questions.
This is more of a comment than a question. I just from recent experience, when you start seeing numbers as low as 124 for an opening year, and making sure that they all show up, 80 being the minimum, there's going to be a lot to go into the making sure if you've got those students signed up that they actually show up, right? I mean, that's one thing that we were actually just talking about when you got in here. We talk about interest. All you want to is that they got to show up that first day of school. So that's just a comment, more so than anything for just the size of the opening year.
Now, what are your marketing plans? You had 41 on the survey,
Sorry, Bruce.
Right.
so what else are you gonna do to pique the interest of the community?
We had
So
this.
your marketing plan.
We had discussed several things. One would be to host community STEM days to invite all the community and kind of like have that to showcase, what is going to be happening at those at our school. Even though we might not, recruit all of them, that would still be a good benefit for the community to participate in those things. We talked about using traditional media, which we have a lot of print media. We have a lot of radio stations in Statesville. We have a TV station that could broadcast. We talked about going, word of mouth, going, into the communities and communicating those things. Using social media as much as possible, and then possibly going out to, where they would allow, going out to places like daycares and things like that, and seeing if they would let us have a community night. Also, any community event, having something set up, and some kind of event so that the kids can kind of get engaged, and while they're engaged, talk to the parents.
And you mentioned STEM days. Why aren't you emphasizing STEAM days?
It
It's
would,
even part of your name.
right. It would, and I think just traditionally, I'm like interchanging the two, but there would be, in the school, for sure, there would be an emphasis on arts, because I feel like that's important, because in the STEM world, people can have ideas, but unless you have somebody to kind of get creative with those ideas, then it's just an idea. So with that, the arts part of it, that would be, there would be some part of their daily rotation that would include arts and or visual arts and music, and then also, using those art projects as, part of their portfolio. They're going to be, having the opportunity to use art as their assessment pieces for their units.
So exactly where are you anticipating the school being? What, you in your introduction, you talked about the 3 different sections, or how the county's sort of divided up. Where do you envision this school being?
We imagine the school being as close to the target population, to those areas that really need it the most, because we know transportation, that's part of our plan, but transportation to and from areas are, sometimes if there's a STEAM school in Wars.
Is the answer Statesville?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. You talked about what you plan to do. What have you done in terms of knowing that there is a high demand, that this would be a highly sought after school? What will you do? What have you done to date to give you confidence that if you build it, they will come?
Could I speak? This is Teresa Evans.
Yeah, please.
Okay, I was the principal at North Idle High School, and I actually petitioned to get an early college started at North Idle High School, which is the older children that we should have been targeted when they were in K1. And when we started marketing, had an overwhelming amount of applications. And those same parents have smaller children. And I think I'm answering some of your questions about whether we know whether there will be people there who are interested. And the early college is proof that there is interest in having a better education. And I'll sign out now and let Pam do the talking, sorry.
Early college, though, is the high school model. You're not serving high school.
That's
So
correct.
That's right, but the children in our area, see, I live in the area, the northern end of Statesville, and our elementary, and plus I also worked in the elementary school. These children who are in the elementary school, if they have the opportunities that we're talking about offering, they would not be those same children we had in our high school who were dropouts. They would have the opportunity to have more interesting, more applicable curriculum that they're not getting now. And I hate to trash the public school because I am a public school person, but I've worked in elementary and high school, and I've seen the need for this. And I was also have a certification in career. I was a business education teacher. And so, and we found that the careers on high school level are great, but they've missed learning about that, the STEM, as a younger child.
So I'm gonna go back, I'm really trying to drive into this question. I
Okay.
haven't heard the answer yet.
Okay.
What have you done to date to be really, really confident as you stand here today that the parents will come to send their kids to this school? How do you know that? How do you know that there's a demand?
Okay, so I will say that we have had limited, before the application was submitted, we have had limited interaction with the public as far as we were at events and talking to parents. And parents, I don't think would give you a yes or no just right there on the spot, but we have started the community conversation about the school, and this is what the school can offer versus what traditional schools can offer. So we've done a little bit of that, face to face, surveying of parents and trying to get that information out into the community.
Have you done any like community events, or have you set up any kind of social media sites and just tracking clicks? Like
I do have a social media site. I have not tracked clicks yet. But that's a very good idea. But yeah, we have set up a couple of community events, some different things in Statesville that had like community presence where like people were set up in booths and stuff like that. Yes.
Ms. Parley asked the question I was going to ask. Do you have anyone on your board who has experience with school finance?
So Teresa Evans, she's online, but she has a business administration degree, and she can speak more about that. But I am looking at possibly onboarding. I know of, since reading the feedback, I saw that, and I'm actually looking at a couple people to kind of have a face-to-face conversation with to see if they would be interested that are accountants.
Other questions the board members have?
One of the questions I have is, how many folks that are currently on your board would eventually become employees of the school?
I think right now there's two. It would be myself and the guidance counselor. She's a potential person to become an employee.
And then you have 3 left.
Yes. So there would have to be some recruitment done.
It seems like you're the key person here. You've kind of, I correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you're kind of the one that's been primarily driving the application, getting it together, building the board out, but you don't actually live in Iredell.
I live in Wilkes. I taught for a long time, like 18, 19 years in Iredell County. And then my other board members do live in Iredell County, and I teach in Iredell County again, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
the connection.
And
that you
I'm from Statesville, and I guess you can say my heart is for Statesville because like I've seen the disparity, in the within the city limits, and have seen kids that I think that could, because I do community work in Statesville also in the inner city communities, and I see these kids that if they knew that, or if they had an idea that school could get them from point A to point B, and so many parents in these areas are lacking the social capital, to be able to say, well, I want my student to be successful, but I don't know how to get there. And Mr. Iams, he does a lot with the Statesville community, with that area, and he can speak to more of that, so.
Shelley?
I have a quick question. I know you're projecting a small school, but am I reading this right? Two things. First, your guidance counselor and your EC director, you're projecting to be the same person?
At first, that's the other person on our board. She is duly certified in both of those areas.
So she's on your board, but would be
an employee?
She would move up into the role and she would be
Okay,
replaced, yeah.
and Todd, this may go back, or just be repeating, I'm sorry if I missed it, your question. You have one, other than you, office person, and we're talking about data managing,
Right.
answering the phones, and it looks as if that's finances, I mean,
Yeah.
that's gonna be.
And, yeah, and I saw that feedback, and I think that that's a very good point, that would be a lot on one person. So I think, in response to that, I'm probably looking forward, or the board's looking forward to, possibly taking that finance part and possibly, contracting that out with a, accounting firm in the area. And just have that part be taken until we can get somebody, full-time to be that person.
And again, I apologize, and I may have missed, I'm so sorry. The board member that has finance, the possibility of them coming on staff.
No, she will not be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you have 2.5 elective teachers. Who are they?
They haven't not been,
Who are
okay.
they? Like, I don't know names,
Right. So, it looks like possibly if the positions were as they were explained in the application, it would be one person who, has, that would dual role as like a computer coding, and then another thing that week, maybe some kind of engineering, an engineering PBL, get kids together and give them engineering, task. The other full-time would be like the PE and the health, because the PE and the health would be twice a week. And then you had another position being the arts and music, or
So
the split.
arts and music person is only half-time?
I went back and I kind of thought about, there was some feedback about the arts integration and possibly, doing some more of that. Possibly doing just as far as the STEM elective, just the computer and coding, and then having the art and the music being both every week. So there's some wiggle room with those positions. Trying to figure out, what is the benefit for the students, how can we integrate that arts piece and make sure that we have good social, emotional learning piece there. Because a lot of the engineering concepts would be taught as the, part of the regular instruction, having those PBL projects and things like that.
Do you have a facility already in mind?
We, Teresa and I went and we toured, there's an old Gardner Webb satellite facility in Statesville, and it's very strategically placed. So we actually went and toured it, and it would be an awesome location, very centralized to both, I think, the northern end and the central Iredell County. And it's pretty much already set up to be a school, I guess you would say. So we actually toured there and kind of was in communication with the owner, and kind of if this thing comes through, we might be back in touch with you. There's some other buildings that could be converted into, that are rentals or leased, that could be converted into an educational space as well. So there are ones on the list, we just haven't because it had not been approved yet, set it in stone.
And I see you have $4,000 for school buses. Are you providing transportation?
Yes.
So why would there be a budget for buses in year 1 and 2, but not a budget in years 3 and 4, but then a budget again? I'm sorry, you're budgeting for school buses year 1 and 2, not year 3, but then again in year 4, but not in year 5.
I think that was just the sheer number of students, that would be projected to need transportation, having those buses at first. And then maybe year 3, them being able to be on on the same buses as far as numbers. But then you start to get as, you know, more students, and then you had to, you know, purchase another bus.
So you're purchasing these buses. Does the $4,000 represent the annual payment?
So where I was getting information from was, there is a data bank that I found online that had, you know, used buses for sale, and kind of like taking an kind of average of those to fund the buses.
I guess I'm still not clear on how you have no money for transportation in year 3 or 5. So that, when you look at the budget, it looks like you're not transporting students
Right.
in year 3 and 5.
I think it was just like having the buses already in year 1 and 2, and then, you know, and then having enough seats on the bus.
When you say having them, you bought them
Yes,
for $8,000.
like I said, I was, oh,
So I think what you may be talking about is the state of North Carolina, when they take buses out of service,
Auction.
you can buy them from districts where you really buy them from the state. And they're a certain age or have over 200,000 miles, is, I think, those surplus buses. That's
yes,
probably what you're-
yes.
I see another line for gas and maintenance on those buses, is that?
Yeah, that's the money allocated to keep and maintain.
So
fill them up.
in my head, it was purchasing.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Other questions? I feel like I'm peppering you with all the questions. I'm
No,
sorry.
that's okay.
I don't know if you will.
Yeah, this is more of a comment. I think you really gotta rethink a couple of things here, that one person to answer the phones, be the receptionist, be the finance
Right.
officer, be the power school person. That's
That's
not.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Power school alone.
That's, yeah, power
It's
school alone
one-to-one.
is one person.
Yeah,
And particularly when you're in startup mode, your phone's gonna be ringing off the
Okay.
hook. You can't. it's
I
just not
completely understand
feasible.
that,
And
yep.
And I think too, the EC guidance counselor dual role, I actually think on the day-to-day operation of your school, that actually can kind of create a conflict of interest for that very person.
Okay.
I agree.
Because there's information that students share with the guidance counselor that isn't necessarily, it's just, I think that's really complicated
Okay.
way to, that's a really tough job for that person
I agree.
to straddle both roles
right,
effectively.
okay,
Yeah, I also think it's difficult to be trying to do this with almost half of your board that's gonna become employees. I understand what you're doing, but that's a lot. And I think that you need people now, some with some specific kind of talents and expertise that are gonna remain in that position to support the work.
right,
I agree, and I think that's what I was getting at earlier with, you have that on your board and you, and I feel like what you're saying is you're gonna lean heavily on that, but then when that, you need that as a staff member, you need that as an employee, and then you're gonna lose that off of your board, so thinking about, you have that expertise on your board, but you also need that in your building.
right.
How soon, like, if the school were granted permission to open and you made it through RTO, like, you've got right now a 5-member board, of which 2 would step off, like, what's your timeline for replacing those members? Would you wait until the school opened? Would it be?
No, I would definitely see us recruiting board members before that becomes, because I just feel like that's too much of a, you know, as you're starting to open, that's too much of a conflict of interest there. And just having those board members to kind of like help, you know, maintain those things and really keep, you know, because, you know, keep those employees, you know, doing what they need to do. So I would, you know, that would be like one of the first things is to try to get those seats refilled and possibly add some.
This week.
All right, we have under 5 minutes. Any other
Just
questions?
comment, thinking also of recruiting highly qualified teachers and the average salary on the budget's $40,000. And then the finance officer you were talking about, this 12 months is $35,000 for a 12-month finance officer. I just don't know how realistic some of the numbers are.
Right.
And which may have been, to your point, just to really have to go through this budget really, really well.
And we addressed some of that, especially with Miss Evans, being a former principal. We know that the first year budget is going to be tight because of the fundings that don't start up until year 2. But possibly, possibly offering retention bonuses for teachers that, get past, don't get past, but they choose to come back after, year 1. And using a retention bonus to kind of help compensate for the tight funding for year 1,
Do all students receive Chromebooks?
Well, one of the things, just trying to model from the STEAM point of view, the technology piece, eventually we would want all students to have, a one-to-one technology, but that's one of the line items I was looking at in the budget as far as like, if we needed to, going forward, if that had to be a line item that had to be reduced for year 1 to compensate for some of those other things, to maybe possibly cut that in half and do like a class set per, the 2 grade level classes at first.
Another question?
Again, just things like the water, $1,500 budgeted for the year. That's, I do that a month. $1,000 for trash, things like that. I mean, just little technical things inside the budget that just having a small school, which, folks want a small school, right? It provides challenges that are real, right? And,
Right.
Again, if you budget for 124 and 100 show up, everything about this changes,
Right.
so.
Yeah,
And we're-
I think I'm not trying to like pick apart but I just think I'm looking at, you're being interviewed by people who run schools.
Right.
And so we're looking at your budget.
Oh, yeah, of course.
$3,000 for legal counsel, your first EC case,
That's one phone call.
you're done.
Yeah.
10,000 in furnishings, office supplies, paper at $1,000. I just think a lot of this needs to be
Okay.
re-looked at.
And I think getting a good handle on your community support, because
Okay.
as we said earlier, that 120 number, 124 will not show up on the first day.
Okay.
So you are gonna be put in that situation, and then knowing the low end of the max, I mean, you have to have 80. To me, that cuts it really, really close.
Okay.
124 might show up if you have 175%.
Correct. But 124 is not gonna show up if you're expecting 124.
Right.
So we're actually out of time, so I'm gonna give the candidate, you have 10 minutes for closing comments.
So I'm going to read the amended mission statement and then kind of like break it apart bit by bit. The mission of Infinity STEAM Academy is to provide students of all backgrounds equitable, engaging, integrated STEAM immersive learning opportunities and career-related experiences so that they have the skills they need to solve real-world problems and achieve their academic and personal goals. While the school will be open to all county families, the target population is the city of Statesville. The city has a high number of residents below the poverty line, and many of the area schools are considered low-performing. It is time to rethink learning and offer something different and innovative. Infinity STEAM Academy will implement a weighted lottery, giving preference to families with low socioeconomic status. Students in the lower end of the county have access to a nearby STEM certified school. The North Carolina STEM School of Distinction designation ensures that the school is STEM immersive. The school is a STEM culture rather than just offering an extra science class or robotics club. There is no such school that exists in northern or central Iredell County, making it nearly inaccessible to populations who may benefit the most. Typically, a student's engagement wanes over time as they move through successive grade levels. This is compounded if a student struggles academically. I personally have seen students with language barriers and learning disabilities excel at hands-on problem-solving, problem-based learning. Infinity STEAM Academy will use these experiences as a driving force of learning. The hope is to create a desire for learning that craves more challenging experiences. To add to the student engagement through PBL, the school will also use integrated interdisciplinary units. Real life is interdisciplinary, so why shouldn't learning be? Integrated units are the perfect way to help students understand why math and reading matters. A kindergarten lesson about the motion of objects might include creating a choreographed dance. In the lesson, students learn about other cultures, learn PE terms, practice counting to 20, and read short stories related to motion. Too many times, subjects are taught in isolation, and this creates disconnect and disengagement for students. Infinity STEAM Academy will connect as much content as possible from the multiple standards documents. One part of STEAM immersion represents attention to STEAM subjects, many of which are important for future careers. Infinity STEAM Academy will ensure full coverage of grade-level science standards, technology in the form of computers, coding, and robotics, engineering as part of the incorporation of PBL, arts as electives and as a vehicle for assessment choice, and applied mathematics. The other part of STEAM immersion is giving students the opportunity to develop future-ready skills. With integrated units built around PBL, students will learn problem-solving, creative thinking, teamwork, and persistence, all of which can be applied to any career choice. Speaking of career choice, each integrated unit of study will highlight at least one career. With career exploration being a part of learning, students will see the purpose in attending school. By middle school, students will participate in more in-depth exploration of a few careers of their choice. This will include many internships in which students will hear guest speakers and may visit locations related to their choices. They will meet with the school counselor and/or faculty advisors to discuss career goals and develop a pathway to obtaining said goals. Achieving career goals later in life is closely aligned with achieving academic and social goals now. Infinity STEAM Academy will work diligently to keep students at or above grade level. When students experience learning gaps, the faculty will use an MTSS protocol to identify the specific content and skills that have not been mastered. The school will offer daily remediation and built-in intercession weeks to close the gaps. If necessary, students will be referred for EC testing so that more intense support and accommodations can be provided to ensure student success. Enhancement opportunities will be provided to students who are at or exceeding grade level. The goal of Infinity STEAM Academy will be to help the child reach their fullest potential. Do you have anything to add? Okay.
Thank you so much. So now we're gonna deliberate amongst ourselves. It's possible we might have some questions, additional questions for you.
Okay.
You're welcome. You've been standing. You don't have to stand up this whole time, but.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, thoughts?
I think a little more work needs to be done to the application. Budget, marketing, sure they will get their numbers, the board members.
I don't have any doubt that a school in this area could attract students. The question is whether or not this school can attract enough students. And at this point, I don't think, they have, maybe they know, they're on the ground locally, but our job is to get confident that they're right in that assessment. That's one of the things we have to do. And there's not much here that's concrete about, that shows us that there's actually a demand for this particular school. And that suggests that some marketing efforts need to be expended and some data needs to be collected showing a demand that can get them to this enrollment point that they're projecting, because their budget depends upon them getting the students.
Any other comments?
I think they have some good ideas. I think that there's definitely some good things in their ed plan and what they want to do in this community. I don't know that they're ready. I don't know that they have the structure, the plans around marketing, the pieces about how it works and what goes into this. I think there's work got to be done.
None other than what I raised earlier.
Yeah, I tend to
What'd
agree.
you say, Shelley?
I said I don't have any other comments than what I raised earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I'd echo everything what people have said. I think there are concerns in the budget. I'm not gonna go through all of them. Am concerned about, the board is small to begin with a 5-member board, and then we would be giving the charter to a board of which 2 members we know right now are not going to be part of the board. I didn't get the A in STEAM, like, even the staffing, it's, the arts music teacher, is stated as a half-time position. That's, I don't know, that's, STEAM and STEM are not interchangeable. And I wanted more to hear about how the arts is also part of this academic programming. So I think there's some, I think there's some more work to be done.
Yes. Agree.
Other thoughts or questions, comments?
Just same thing you're saying. It's just, I think a little bit more homework needs to be done on what current costs are on things. And if you're gonna have a small school, unfortunately, it's really expensive to run a school right now. It just, and you can see that they were doing the best they could to try and make their money leverage throughout the budget and at least put some money somewhere. But computers for a STEAM school, I'd love to find a bus for the cost of, $4,000. That'd be great. Especially a full passenger bus. And
It's not gonna last.
I
bought those
I
buses.
just paid
They don't last.
$11,000 for a minibus.
You can find them, but it costs you
$20,000 to get it up
You
here.
get 'em-
I just bought a brand new minibus and I'm embarrassed to tell you how much it
Yeah,
costs.
I mean, we bought a used one for 11. It had
That's a good deal.
a lot
That's
of
actually a
miles.
really good deal.
It had some miles on it.
I'm not gonna tell you how much. I'm literally embarrassed. to
But
tell
I just, I think great ideas, good heart. You can tell that the heart is there for wanting to start school. It's just
I
there's
agree
a
with
lot
that.
more work that needs to
Yeah.
go into making sure that the school's going to open and be successful.
Yeah, I think, the last thing I would say is, again, I think there's just some more work to be done. I think I'd build out the board more, particularly in the areas of finance.
That's a good deal. That's actually.
And I think I'd do a really deep dive into proving there's demand and there's interest. Is the demand there? And then is the interest there, given the other choices that parents have in the Statesville area? And I think I need a little bit more compelling argument that exists.
I have a concern, but this may be misplaced, and if somebody else could chime in, I'd appreciate it. The technology piece, there are costs to technology, that's expensive, but we're starting out here just K through 2nd grade. How much technology do you need for those first 2 grades? And I don't know the answer to that, but it would seem to me as they age, the technological burdens increase and the costs are gonna increase. So that may be a place where there's money allocated right now that may not be needed, but I may not understand STEAM in this context well enough.
So I guess therein lies the question that I'm not sure that we know the answer to, but I think it depends on the culture you're gonna create at the school, right? And you're gonna establish it, early on. It depends on how it's gonna happen, right? How instruction's gonna happen, where it's gonna live, and how they wanna build that.
A lot of the evaluative tools that they use in the K2 require like technological
Yeah.
support, like Dibbles, for example, you need iPads, so it's
The state doesn't provide those
IXL, that a lot of the exams and stuff like that, IXL, things like that are all computer
Yeah, and I-
programs, so
I'm sorry.
No, it's all
I
right.
mean, I agree with Todd,
it's a culture.
but at the same time, you just you gotta have the devices too. And again, I think it's an example of the budget. I think, maybe with some outside eyes, we have the benefit because we live through this every year. But, I mean, I just look at the amount of money dedicated to technology devices, tablets, Chromebooks. It's not sufficient. It's just not.
It might behoove someone to go to a school similar in size or similar in scope and look at an already existing budget. Just that's a working operating budget to get a better idea of, how you might wanna allocate your funds for a school.
Would anyone like to make a motion? Any other final comments?
I move that we do not accept Infinity STEAM's application.
Okay. Motion's been made to not,
Move forward.
not move Affinity Steam forward, not to accept the application. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Ashley, can we do roll call vote, please?
Yes, Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Hilda Perley,
Approves.
Alex Quigley,
Approved.
Todd Gopi,
Aye.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
Bart Danielson,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
Okay. So the application has not been, approved, and if you would like to apply in the next cycle, you're welcome to contact our office and we'll help you do that, okay?
And thank you for the time and effort you did put into this. I know it's a lot, and hopefully you've heard from us that, I think there's some things you can do to, if you
Yes.
opt to come back.
Yes.
It can be not a no, but a not right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, thank you.
very good, I like that.
All right, let's take is the next applicant here?
10:45.
I do not see them.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take 10 minutes and come back at 10:40.
10:41?
And a half.
Our next applicant is Murtis Simpson Walker Academy for Boys, slated for open in Mecklenburg County, a single-gender school with a focus on musical arts and entrepreneurship, character education. In year 1, grades K-5 with 300 students, rounding out in year 5 with 500 students serving grades K through 8. Murtis Simpson Walker does plan to participate in the National School Lunch Program, use a cluster bus stop transportation plan. They will have a weighted lottery for their student enrollment, and they're slated for the 28105 zip code in Charlotte, working with Legacy Impact Group for that land and that building plan. They were a standard applicant in our 2021 cycle, so yes, they are repeat. There is not an EMO or CMO slated for Murtis Simpson. Application was deemed complete, and these enrollment projections are based upon pulling all 500 students from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system. We have the LEA comparison in terms of the subgroups and the EDS categories there. Currently, 34 charters in the CMS, 185 traditional schools, 1 lab school there in Charlotte, Mecklenburg. The primary point of contact has been Ms. Cynthia Johnson. She is joined today with her other board members, and there's some representation online. At this time, we want to allow Ms. Johnson and her board the 10-minute opening introduction statement. Okay. You want to wait? Okay. So we'll just allow the rest of the members to join us, and then 10 minutes, okay?
Thank you for the additional time.
Does that mean they're still not here, I guess?
Yeah, it's not.
Their full board is here. We're still parking.
There's 2 more coming, I think they said.
10:45. Yeah. I don't know if your experience was like mine, but. Come on in.
I want a badge.
Yeah.
Can,
Well, Alex, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Once you acquire the coach of the year,
no, thank you.
I will, I'll work on
Ashley?
that badge for you.
Is there any way we could get a badge for when we come?
I'd asked about
Yeah, I
that.
was
I'll
thinking
keep
about that
asking
too,
about
Alex. Just signing in much better.
Well, you technically, sorry, I work down there a lot, so I feel like I have pretty good authority to answer this. If
Hey.
you have a DPI email, I don't know why you don't have it.
Yeah, it's true.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Can you just print us a badge?
We all do have DPI.
Hey, since you spoke up,
But that's why we should
you'll be our
have it.
point guy.
Yeah. I expect that to be done. I want my badge right here by next month.
We have a mission for you if you choose to accept it.
Oh my god, I'm gonna literally.
I'll buy you a
email him right now.
Starbucks card.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that.
We'll all go in on a Starbucks.
$5
gift. You like
donation,
Starbucks?
$5 donation
You
for.
like Starbucks?
I actually don't drink coffee.
Oh gosh.
He's like,
What's wrong with you?
All right, we'll do Jimmy John's then.
What'd you
Jimmy
say?
John's gift card.
Diapers, because he has a child.
All right, we'll buy him diapers.
Diaper
We'll buy
bag.
him diapers.
Diaper genie.
No, he's gonna. Oh wait, we might.
Diapers.
So we'll come through with diapers, but I need a badge.
I need a badge. Tired of.
Are you a Pampers or Huggies guy?
We'll trade diapers for.
We normally do Kirkland's at Costco.
We'll get you the good stuff.
We'll get you the good stuff.
We'll get you the good stuff.
Alex can afford it.
Oh, stop.
Well, you mean when he gets that coach of
I
the year?
only because my
That coach
only
of the year
'cause my
stipend?
kids are grown, or not grown, but no longer in diapers.
Hey Todd, that coach of the year stipend is huge.
I didn't even take the stipend.
We put it towards the bus.
Yeah. You got some coaches of the year over there, man. Your athletic program for the size of your school, John, is exceptional.
I've been stood overnight.
They're so good.
All right, I think we're almost ready.
Mm-hmm, yes, sir.
Good for me. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing? Thank you for having us today.
How about you?
Okay. Well, I am Cynthia Johnson, chairperson for the MSWA Board of Directors. I am a school counselor with over 20 years of experience. I have received numerous awards for my work in the community with my commitment in working with boys. I started the Youth Entrepreneurship Program under my nonprofit, the Murtis Simpson Walker Youth Leadership Foundation, in 2010 and started the Rising Stars Boys Program in 2014. How can our young men benefit attending single-gender schools? Less distractions. Being able to explore activities that they may not be able to experience in a co-ed setting. Did you know the suicide rate among our Black and brown male students has risen by 60% in the past 20 years for students 10 to 19 years of age? MSW will partner with Holistic Lotus Therapy that has a specialization working with males and trauma. We will offer parent workshops to our families that will support their needs. It is alarming that in the 21-22 school year, CMS had a total of 21,411 suspensions. Of those suspensions, 13,689 were males, 9,416 were Black males, 2,519 were Hispanic males. In the 22-23 school year, in all subject areas, 51.2% male students were grade level proficient, compared to 53% female students grade level proficient. Grades 3 through 8 in the 22-23 school year, 39.6% Black students were grade level proficient compared to 80.9% white students who were grade level proficient. Murtis Simpson Walker was my grandmother, and the school is a part of her legacy. She was an educator, she was a pillar of the community in Pensacola, Florida, and most importantly, she was my grandmother, she was my shero. And so, why do we need an all-male school? It will benefit the young men in our community, and it will serve a purpose for, not only for the young men, but also for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg community. Thank you.
Okay, Alice, you got your data.
Hi, I'm Tony Wheeler. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Murtis Simpson Walker Academy, MSWA. My experience includes being in the classroom for over 20 years, serving children in 2nd to 5th grade. My education experience includes a master's in reading and an admin degree in leadership. I've had the opportunity to lead and serve children in capacities such as mentor and coach. I've also seen the disparities in test scores and growth between boys in various subgroups, which has led me to being a part of this amazing opportunity and organization, MSWA. I feel that what we have here with our Achievement First curriculum within how we integrate entrepreneurship, working with junior achievement in music, and Hope K-12 character education program, we can create strong foundational skills for boys to be successful and be able to move into high school with less, if any, deficit. We have chosen Achievement First curriculum because we have seen schools using this program to have an increase in math scores and in math school-wide from the year 2021-22, 17% to 22-23, 61%. That's a 12 and 44 point growth. In reading school-wide, the scores in 21-22 were 15 and 25%. In 22-23, they were 29%. That's a 13 and 75% growth. Point Growth. We, the board members, are excited we are excited about the impact the MSWA school will bring to Charlotte and the families in our communities. And we appreciate your vote of confidence as well. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Jenny Jackson. I am the head of governance for the MSW School for Boys. I'm a seasoned entrepreneur, currently an entrepreneur in residence for Charlotte's Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. We are a regional hub for the National Science Foundation I-Corps program, and I actually lead the Charlotte Launch Customer Discovery Program on behalf of Charlotte. My charge this year is actually raising participation for underrepresented founders within our community. Since 2019, I've been supporting the entrepreneurial community in Charlotte. Prior to my time doing that as a mentor, I actually worked in corporate innovation for MetLife and helped start incubators and hubs for Munich Re. I'm a strategic thinker. I hold an organization and development degree, Master of Science from Queen's University, and a Bachelor of Science from North Carolina A&T State University. I'm also a scaled agilist and a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta. I say all this to say that I continue to champion causes that align to my value, including being an advocate for children's rights, where I met Ms. Johnson. I am the mother of an autistic child. This really reflects my dedication for making a positive impact, and with my wealth of experience and commitment and innovation, I'm very passionate about positive change within our community. The Murda Simpson Walker School for Boys really helps drive home that mission for my values. As part of our governing body, we're committed to providing a nurturing and innovative learning environment that provides musical excellence and entrepreneurial skills and development for young male students. Our governing body will have a board of trustees. Our board of trustees will be responsible for overseeing the strategic direction, financial stability, and long-term sustainability for the school. Our executive leadership team will be headed by the headmaster and collaboratively leads the day-to-day operations and implementation of our school's vision. In terms of academic divisions, we will have a music division that's responsible for the overseeing the music curriculum, an entrepreneurship division that will focus on entrepreneurial education, business development, and experiential learning. Decisions within the school will be collaborative and consultative. They will incorporate stakeholders from faculty, staff, students, parents, and the Board of Trustees. And lastly, I'll add that core values and principles for the school align to excellence, creativity and innovation, respect and diversity, collaboration, integrity, and ethics. In conclusion, our governance structure and guiding principles outlined in this overview is going to provide a solid foundation for the MSW School for Boys. And again, that mission is really around nurturing boys in the state of North Carolina, specifically within the Charlotte community, to empower them to excel in music and entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Hi, my name is George Overton Hunt IV. I am a graduate of Norfolk State University. I'm also CEO and founder of thebiginsurancegroup.com. I'm also currently working at Phillips High School teaching Java CTE courses and also beginning graphic designs through Adobe, working on kids with their certification. I feel that MSW Academy will be very great for the city of Charlotte and surrounding areas. Me being a native of Washington, D.C., I was around when it was called the murder capital of the world. The city in a 10-mile radius back in the 90s when I was going through school in late 80s was started out as about maybe 100 to 125 murders, catapulted by mid-90s up to 470, 450 murders a year per capita. In Charlotte, within the last 2 to 3 years, the juvenile murder rate actually went up over 10 to 15%. It got to the point where they had 3 departments in CMS that created a task force to help with the murder rates in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County as far as the juvenile. Murda Simpson Academy for Boys also will help with this, help me personally, me being a musician, coming to band practice, when my friends and stuff was on the streets, robbing, slinging, drugs, doing everything they can to help ruin the community. I was at band practice. So fortunately, I wasn't arrested. When I could have been slinging drugs, breaking into cars, I was at band practice. Music is something that you have to do consistently on a consistent basis. There's not something you can push a button and you just is a great musician. We're going to use this catapult as these young men to show them how to be more disciplined and focused throughout our curriculum as it was explained in our application too as well. That's the end of my introduction. Look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you for your opening remarks. We now have some time, under 20 minutes, to ask questions of you.
Hold on a second, we forgot me.
What's that?
I didn't go yet.
All right, we're out of time, so maybe we can get you in the closing remarks.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's no worries. So just, we're gonna kind of go around, just ask questions. You all might want to just jot those down, and then when it seems applicable, just come up to the mic and we'll get those answered, okay? Questions, folks?
Since they're targeting boys, are they targeting all boys or boys of color? Can the board be more diverse if they are targeting all boys? And I'd like to know more about the academics of the school in relationship to the music, and entrepreneurship. I want to see a bit more emphasis on the academics as well.
Yeah, one of the questions I did have was, and I tried to look it up and do some research on achievement first. Like, so maybe you could talk about that in couple with the question that she was asking with,
I can talk about that too. I can answer questions about the curriculum.
achievement first? Go for it.
What do you want to know?
Yeah, just what is Achievement First?
Achievement First is a high-performing charter network, urban charter network in Connecticut and New York, and they've basically made their entire curriculum public. So it's pretty strong curriculum and
all subject areas.
And there's a couple schools that use it in North Carolina to good results, and they consistently have strong results in New York and Connecticut, outperforming traditional school districts, particularly those that serve a similar demographic, and they basically got a lot of funding to make it open source.
That's pretty cool.
It's easy to access and it's free.
I had some
Yeah, go
questions
for it.
specific to on the budget side of things that maybe they can address. Pull the budget up here real quick, make sure I'm correct in this. I didn't see any in the personnel side. There's the school leader, but as the school grows from 300 in the first year to 500 in year 5, there's not any administrative, there's not like an assistant principal or.
Bruce, I looked further down, it's in year 2. So they have assistant administrator, but then they call it assistant principal in year 2.
I don't see it in the budget, though.
I don't see that in the budget.
This budget, the one that's on the, I can bring it to you.
Well, we'll have them,
Try to pull it.
we'll have them address that. and
Okay, I
then,
see it now.
It's
Look
not the
down
one
lower.
inclusion.
It's right here.
No, it's the one that she
It's
posted
line
on
16.
their, yeah.
Okay,
Line 16.
all right, never mind that. I was looking for it in line 7. And then just some, do board members have financial experience, specifically school finance experience? I see you're not budgeting a finance officer. It looks like you're paying to outsource financing. Maybe talk a little bit about what your plans are to make sure that your finances are kept in good order. And questions about the facility, specifically, where do you anticipate your school being? Do you have a facility that you're kind of have your eye on? Talk to us a little bit about that as well.
Why don't we stop right there and answer the facility question, because I think that's, because I know you've got $600,000 for, so it sounds like you might, either that's an estimate or you have something in mind. If you wouldn't mind stepping up to the mic and just give us an update on what you're thinking facility-wise.
Okay, so currently for about a year now, we've been working with Peter Rickey, who is a realtor who's experienced in locating facilities for charter schools, and he's we have our eye on a specific location, not necessarily in our location, but we have also, well, not secured, but we've also looked at a number of properties also in the area that we're focusing on. And so it's just a matter of, beg your pardon?
What area is that?
The Independence area going toward that southeast area of Charlotte. Mhm.
How many other charters exist in that area right now?
It's not many, and that's a big reason why we have selected that area, because it's not overly saturated with other charter schools in that particular area. And then as far as the property cost is not as high as within the city limits, compared to the city limits.
So the facility you have your eye on, what's the square footage of that?
It's approximately, I think 50,000, I believe, square feet. I'm just estimating.
While we're on budget, I was just looking down, so
Mm-hmm.
we're just in year one, you have $5,000 for musical instruments, and then the next year it's $45,000, and then the next year it's $5,000. Is that a typo, or?
And I guess,
No.
well, I guess the reason we included at such a, we were very conservative in our budget, and Kevin can also elaborate. He's our financial person who has over 10 years of experience in the financial industry. We're very conservative, and we have, of course,
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Also, our wraparound is included with instrument donations from Dr. Ruff from North Carolina A&T, Dr. Brock from Johnson C. Smith, the director of bands at Claflin University, Thurman Hollins as well. Also, one of my good friends, the Extra Wiley from the group To the Extreme. He's the CEO of Marvin Gaye Estate. He are also interested in coming and doing clinics, also donating some instruments as far as recording and stuff like that on tracks. Also, Dr. Kevin James from Morris Brown College as well, another good friend of mine's, fraternity brother. He's well aware of what we're doing, and we have his full support as well. So between the tight budget that you see on paper, that's what we have in dollar-wise, but that's not including the donations from some very prominent people and very avid music lovers as well.
Correct, and the different years has to do with 1 year is going to be used to buy all of that, and then after will be the additionals. So that's why it's a large sum in 1 year.
Correct. Like the first year, because it's going to be younger kids, they don't need a Triton keyboard. I mean, that's a kind of waste of money. More so recorders. You can buy a recorder, a pretty decent one, for about $4 to $5. Depending on how the economy goes, you might go to 8 to 10. So we can cover, the recorders, basically kind of musical therapy to use the motor skills to get their fingers moving, get their fingers strong for actually writing and stuff like that. So that's what our vision is. Of course, we're going to go to the next level as the years go on and pile on more stuff as the kids develop. So $5,000 will get us started, get the ball rolling, but it won't stop the ball from rolling, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
All right.
Where in the, I was looking at your daily schedule that you submitted as part of the application. I'm just curious, when is music and entrepreneurship part of the student's daily schedule?
So kindergarten through 5th grade, that will be, of course, part of their special area subjects during the special area times. And also we're integrating the music and the entrepreneurship within their core subjects as well. So it will be included in their special area, during the special area classes, the music piece and the entrepreneurship piece. And then also, in addition to that, we are partnering with Junior Achievement with the entrepreneurship as well for the kindergarten through 8th grade program.
So Hilda asked a question about, talk more about when you say boys, who are you getting?
Okay, so I know within the application, we did state that with our black and male students, there is a discrepancy when it comes to the suspension rate, as well as test scores. But MSW Academy for Boys is for all students, all boys, not just the black and brown males. Even though we noticed that we have to zone in on our black and brown students to increase in the academics, to decrease the suspension rate. The program that we have is specifically to benefit our young men so that they can become more well-rounded, to become productive citizens in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and beyond. So it's not just for black and brown students, even though I know looking at the statistics, our black and brown students, we know that they need more, but it's for all students. All boys can benefit from the program. Achievement First, the music and entrepreneurship, more hands-on, giving young men different options. Music, entrepreneurship, and other arts, as well as sports.
So in the data you submitted, you anticipate that about 73% of your students will be Black or Hispanic. Is the location of the school going to be conducive to easy for transportation for 3/4 of your students?
Yes, the area that we're focusing on, the majority, the students in that area are Black and Hispanic.
What, same question I asked the last group that was before you.
Okay.
What work have you done to date in terms of marketing, awareness, trying to gain level of interest? What's the work that's been done thus far that as you stand here today, you have no doubts that if this school is approved, you will hit those enrollment targets?
Okay. So we've worked heavily in the community as far as attending different vending events. We've actually gone door to door. We've worked in the community. We're also educators, so of course we're working in the schools as well, talking to speaking to other teachers, getting their input, having them to complete complete surveys for data. I also have a nonprofit working with boys called the Rising Stars Boys Program, and the boys that were involved in my program came from all over Mecklenburg County and beyond.
How large is that program?
That program, we roughly had about 20 boys every year in that program, and we started doing the work in 2014. Actually, I started the work at the middle school about over 10 years ago, working with young men, and then after that, I decided to put that program under my nonprofit. And after that, when I started the program under my nonprofit, I actually got more support. And enlarged my program. So I had roughly about 20 boys in my program every year, beginning in 2014.
What age are those?
And they started grade 3 all the way up to high school. And one thing that we did, and that's why I included the hands-on approach with the Achievement First and doing the music and entrepreneurship. Of course, boys do not want to sit in a classroom all day sitting still listening to a teacher, whether it's male or female. They have to get up and move around. And so that's why we integrated the music and entrepreneurship. People say, well, why music and entrepreneurship? It's giving the boys different options. And that's one thing that I've noticed. Even with my program, I've worked it because I included the entrepreneurship piece. I included the music piece, the community service piece. If you review the application, there's a huge community service piece. And also, most importantly, I included the parent workshop piece. The first 2 years, or during my Rising Stars Boys program, we included a parent workshop. I had different people, even from Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, come in and do parent workshops with with the students, with the families of our young men, and it worked. While our program was going on, we integrated the computer. We did computer programming and also movie production with the Rising Stars Boys program, and it worked. The parents were having their workshop, and the young men were having their workshop, and the parents loved it and thrived off of it because it's something that they needed for themselves. They were also learning as well as the young men. And so with the program that we're doing, we're covering all bases. We're holding everyone accountable.
So
Even
if I may.
Go ahead.
To go back to Mr. Friend's question, because I haven't heard an answer yet. So I saw evidence of work that you guys did in 2021.
Correct.
With some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And there were, there were reports of, Facebook posts and.
Social
how many
media.
reach, but the only thing that I could see that was kind of evidence back of folks who said that they were interested, it was in the 140, 150 kind of range.
Mm-hmm.
And to open a school with 300 people, you need double that.
Right.
If we were interested, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think back to that question of what evidence do you have to support, that folks that are demanding this specific school,
Mm-hmm.
and then more broadly, that East Charlotte
Mm-hmm.
would support another school of 500 students.
Okay. And you're fine.
I think,
Mm-hmm.
like, specifically, those questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we continue, I know that, that data was in 2021, but we also continued the research as well, continue collecting data, especially within that community. We received at least over about 200 signatures and people completing our survey, parent survey, from different information sessions that we continue to do after the application was submitted. And like I said, it was over 200 signatures, and we can, of course, show you that data as well, where people were in support of what we're doing. They felt that there was a need for an all-boys school here. They weren't pleased with their current situation in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, feeling that there needs to be more working with our young men, not just black and brown boys, but with our young men, period.
Could I ask this? The 200 signatures, are those 200 signatures of parents with boys saying, "I'll come," or was that, could I have signed?
I would say it was
I don't have any
half.
children, could I have signed?
Right. And I would say it was half, honestly. It was half.
Okay, and then how many people on your current board would become employees of the school?
We have one person,
And who is that?
Ms. Tony Wheeler.
Okay.
Hmm.
And what role was she play?
She would be our dean of students.
I have a question, is the nonprofit and the school, would that be a conflict of interest?
I don't know the answer to that question.
It'll be two separate nonprofits.
That's
Okay. I'm sorry.
Can you tell me more about Hope K-12?
Okay, so Hope K-12, that it was a character education program. It's a kindergarten through 12th grade program. And it was written by Dr. Christina Christian. And so Hope, and I love the program. She actually received her data from a local school in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the program focuses on character. As you all are aware, when we talk about character in the schools, we may put the character word of the month on a marquee, or we talk about it over the intercom, like this is respect or this is responsibility. Whereas Hope K-12, like I had mentioned before, and what we're doing for MSW and for our young men, everyone is held accountable. Parents are held accountable. They're given resources and tools to help their child at home. Teachers are held responsible. The children are held responsible. It's a plan in place for everyone involved with that child. It doesn't leave anyone out. That's the difference. And then also, it holds that child accountable because that child is also collecting data. Even though, working as a school counselor, I can ask a child, what kind of grades did you make in language art? What was your grade or what is your test score? They can't even, some can't even tell me. And so what I did this year to test that piece out, to hold the child accountable, I had them to graph, their attendance, their behavior, and their grades to hold themselves more accountable. Okay, this is what I need to work on. And that is what Hope K-12 will do, starting from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. In our case, 8th grade. So they'll focus on a character trait, and then there'll be lessons taught, Hope K-12 lessons taught every day from by that teacher. And then to go a step further, once they become a little older, 3rd grade to 5th grade, they'll receive like a question stem at the beginning of the day. But on top of that, depending on if they're tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, that parent, and whatever challenges they may have, that teacher will be equipped and will have the resources to also give to that parent if necessary to help that child out. There'll be one-on-one conferences with that child. The child will also be taught to do their own report card parent-teacher conferences. So it's not only looking at the teacher and the student, but it's also giving that parent the power to help their child at home as well as in school.
Ryan?
Yes, I like the character ed piece. We do the same thing at Sugar Creek Charter School, so
Okay.
it's really good and important. As far as the school population, you have a boys' school. What efforts are being made? Could you explain a little bit about recruitment or retention of male staff?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, what our plan to retain or to recruit male students, that's your question?
Male staff.
Male staff, I'm sorry, male staff, is, I attended Bethune-Cookman, well as all of my board members have attended, of course, college. We plan to work with the universities that we were in school with, and work with them to go into the schools and talk to them about coming over to MSW and working with them as well. And also working with the different programs in the community as well.
Also, the recruiting for male staff, so far we've met with the 100 Men of Charlotte. We met with them already. We met with Phi Beta Sigma Alumni Association. I've talked with Joel Dancy. He's the Vice President of Fifth Third Bank in Charlotte of Community Services. Also, I'm a Prince Hall Mason. My lodge is going to assist us with that too. So not just only the male staff that they're going to be recruited, but heavily we'll get some recruits from actually those different organizations that we already had conversations, had meetings, had a presentation. They gave us a lot of feedback. Phi Beta Sigma was highly impressed with what we're trying to do, and they're on full board. So to have a male involvement, it wouldn't be that hard for us. We already basically started the pre-recruitment process for that. And then once we get approved from you guys, with y'all blessings, and we open these doors, it wouldn't be that hard for us to keep males in and out those doors for role models for the kids as well. Also, on going back to a question you had earlier about what kind of people or what kind of kids or students y'all gonna do, is it just dark-skinned kids or African Americans? Well, we have took an initiative recently. We have turned a lot of documents into Spanish. The data that y'all received already from the signatures and stuff like that from social media, that was all English. That was all English. But you do have people who mothers and fathers is not fluent in English, but they are in Spanish. So we could talk to them, they could be like, oh yeah, whatever, But then the kids speak very fluent English because of, you know, maybe preschool, kindergarten, stuff like that. So we're actually having documents where we're starting to recently send out to marketing on the Latino community side too as well. So our signature is to meet that 500 school number. It will drastically increase from the recent changes that we have made too as well. And we have a couple of documentations in Spanish too as well. So we're amping up. We're really excited about what we're trying to do. We understood that what we did was good, but we need to go to the next level. The next level is to bring into the Latino community and make them more involved, and we'll get more. I'm almost feel very positive about that.
I got one more quick question for you. How will volunteers be welcomed into the school on a day-to-day basis?
So one thing we have, we got something called the rite of passage. Okay, so the rite of passage in school is basically show the different levels of, okay, you know how to tie your shoes. Okay, you know how to tie a tie. It's crazy as kids, as when I was teaching at John C. Smith on the collegiate level, it's people in college don't know how to tie a basic tie to go on a job interview, just a basic tie. So if we get them at kindergarten learning how to tie their shoe, the next step, maybe third grade, how to tie a tie. Next step, try to learn how to tie a bow tie. Okay, I never learned how to tie a bow tie until I was in 12th grade. So,
I get the initiative of what you want to do. I'm just saying, as far as volunteers coming in.
Oh, the volunteers are coming in?
Yeah,
Hold
how
on,
does that work?
I might be able to help with that. I've been working in the banking world in Charlotte for the past 10 years, and I've been part of many business networking group called Internations that involve lots of business owners and entrepreneurs. And I've been meeting with them, and many have been very excited about and would love the opportunity to come and speak to the children, tell them their story on how they were started. And I've also talked with many musicians who would love to come in and be able to show the children how they are playing and give them that positive role model.
Thank you. Okay, so we're out of time for our questioning. Now you guys have 10 minutes for closing remarks.
Well, thank you again for having us. MSW Academy for Boys has been a passion for me for some years now. Of course, started working in the school system, started working with boys because I noticed that no one was working with them. And then leveling up to where I am right now and where I am with the board members is that, and what I've seen in the community, MSW Academy for Boys, I'm excited about the curriculum that we're using, Achievement First, which is culturally inclusive. I'm excited about Hope K-12. I've been trying to get that off the ground for a number of years because what I've noticed and what I've seen is that the missing link is parents. We're afraid of the parents, but the teachers are the ones that are running, but we're leaving the parents out, and we're not holding the children accountable enough. Our boys would definitely benefit from this program. It's hands-on, it's giving them different options. I have a passion and I know it works. Data shows that single gender schools work for our young men. It will be a public school, but a private school feel. Thank you.
I just wanted to add on, just to fully answer the financial question that was asked earlier, especially that we don't have anybody on the board with finances regarding school systems. But my plan is to use, right now I work at Wells Fargo, where I handle designing controls and setting up risk assessments for the regulators. And my plan is to set up controls and reports that will monitor our liquidity and expenditures and provide alerts for our board if there ever becomes something that could become an issue. And the deep analysis will help us provide and see greater opportunities in the future to reinvest inside our school. Thank you.
With my closing remarks, from the data that I said earlier, I think it worked very well for me. I mean, I own a business that makes well over $500,000 a year in profit after all the smoke clear. I grew up in Washington DC, in the city, not the outskirts, in the middle of the city, and music helped save me because of the discipline, the time to do something positive and learn how to focus. Me sitting here, I'm right here, I'm dyslexic. I never had an IEP or 504 plan. I made it through high school, I made it through college. I had very little help with therapy, but music was my main focus. It helped me focus, it helped me concentrate, it helped me learn how to problem solve. That's what MSW is here for. I feel very strongly. I feel Charlotte by the evidence is showing that how crime is lowering, then it gets high, then it's lowering, get high amongst the juveniles. I think it'll be a very vital part of the city of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Thank you. And I too am excited to be a part of this organization, just like George just shared his testimony about his dyslexia. There's lots of brown boys like George that unfortunately never get what they need. And I know with this experience, having our integration of music and entrepreneurship, because why shouldn't poor children or children from disabled or low economic status, why shouldn't they have the same gender opportunities as people who are making higher incomes? And I know that we can have that here at MSWA, partner with Achievement First, meeting with our representative. There's a team already in place we're already planning with, and so I know that all boys of all races, of all disabilities can have a great education. And I'm excited about the possibilities that we can give Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Now it's time for our deliberation. Anybody want to start?
My concern, again, and I feel like we're singing the same song, is the interest. You know, I think as you said earlier, the need or the good of this type of school for boys would make an excellent impact. But the concern I have is the lack of signatures or the lack of, you know, when you said about half, that's concerning to me, just at this point in getting ready.
I completely buy into the value that you would bring to your community. I absolutely 100% believe that what you were proposing is a wonderful thing. The issue that I see is my buying into it in a system that's based upon parents choosing. My buying into it is a very, very low bar. It's, will parents buy into it? Can you get the parents in the door? And at this point, we had another school for boys in here not too long ago. One of the things they said is, well, some of the boys didn't show up because they had sisters, and parents didn't want to send their boy to one school and the girl to a different school. And so now there were other constraints there, but they overestimated what their demand by parents actually was. Because you've already cut out half the students. And I 100% understand that single gender schools have real advantages. And you're in a big county. That's a nice thing for being able to attract students as well. If you're in a rural county and you've limited yourself, that may be more difficult. But again, at this point, because you've got to make those numbers in order to make your budget work, the revenue is really important. It doesn't seem to me there's enough actual evidence. And I'm not sure who I'm talking to right now.
That's the same.
But there's not enough actual evidence that the boys will show up. And that may require, more surveys. One of the things I'd ask is, does the child have a sister the same age? Because one of the things is you're not going to get the same sort of yield on those kids. But that's I think this is wonderful. I think what you're doing and what you're proposing is wonderful. The feasibility is very contingent upon getting parents to buy in.
I mean, do you all feel that the parents buy-in is a really a key? Because if you go to a school and you have a board meeting, parents won't show up, but the kids go to school there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
They're
do.
gonna come to school.
So I think yes is the answer to your question for me, because a 5-year-old can't choose what school they're going to. And so I think at this stage of the game, there are a whole lot of parents that have to buy into this.
I agree, especially at this point in the process. You have to have that parent buy-in to get this started, to get it up off the ground. I know, my school is 10 years old, and I will say that our parent buy-in from the beginning, or our parent appearance at board meetings and visibility from the beginning may have ebbed and flowed over the years. But I am telling you, in those first years, they were on fire, and they were there to help make that school what it is, and you have to have that. You have to have that. And unfortunately, like you said earlier, running schools are expensive, so you have to have these people actually show up and bring their children to make it happen.
Well, and I think to answer your question too, is I think it's evidence that we have to use something to gauge whether or not we feel like the school's gonna be ready to open or not, right? And one of the strongest pieces of evidence for that is how many people did you get interested in the school, right? I mean, how do you know that they're interested in the school? Because we all know there's probably 25% of them they're going to come because it sounded great, and they don't want to tell you, no, I'm not coming. This sounds great, and they're not going to show up. So if you're going to start the school with 300, you want 400 to say, yeah, I'm coming. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just to
400 to say, I'm definitely coming, for sure.
Right, well, and it's a tricky thing too, right? Because kids age every year, and the school's not opening tomorrow, right? And a parent, I think you probably need 500 or 6 or whatever that say, I'm definitely sending my kid, because some of those kids are going to start somewhere out of another elementary school, and then they're not going to choose to move them out of that elementary school, right? So I think that particularly in a county that already has a whole lot of charter schools, showing significant demand is necessary.
Yeah, I agree. I think showing significant demand and also showing how your school's going to be different than the many other charter schools that already exist in Charlotte Meck. The latter part, I think they've nailed. I mean,
Absolutely.
That's to me
So,
pretty clear. I think and through no fault, this is how I feel, like through no fault of their own, like we just revoked a school yesterday that was for all boys that for 3 years kept telling us every time they were behind that podium, man, we couldn't sell it. We ran out of hot dogs every time we did a Saturday event. Everything was, they're coming.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. This is Mecklenburg County.
Yeah, and I know agreed. I was getting ready to say that. Like, there's a difference in demographics in the geography, I should say. Yeah.
You're correct, it's Mecklenburg County, but we have 3 schools right now that have asked for a delay here in Mecklenburg County. Because their enrollment's a struggle.
Was that for all 3 of them, or was it just, was it
Is it-
enrollment?
Is it enrollment or is it facilities?
I thought it was facilities.
I think
Well, I think
one of them is
It was
facility.
great.
I think facility, and Movement has had some, they have not, the schools that have been opening in Mecklenburg have not met their targets.
Right.
They're getting kids, they're just not getting the numbers they want.
Well, and this comes back to like
Saturation.
the percent. I mean, I know there's a lot, that's again why I think looking at the overall number of kids is tricky versus, okay, we gotta thin slice this radius of the school, percent of, number of boys.
Right.
Like, I mean, that is, I mean, like you said, it's like one of the issues with Saba. Cut the population in half. How many kids were you talking about?
May I ask a question of the applicant?
Sure, yes, sir.
Do you have, so what you're hearing clearly is some concerns about the demand. And do you have any activities, functions planned in the immediate future that
Well-
you think is going to, I'm just,
Oh.
if you had one more month, 2 more months, you'd have a list of 600.
600 events. Well, first and foremost, what we include, we will be working with Media Integration, who specializes in marketing single gender schools. And as far as other events that's coming up, we do have the different vending events coming up as well. Also attending different sporting events in the area that's, of course, that's boy focused. That's what we have coming up so far. And then of course continuing our social media presence as well, and continuing the multiple events in the Charlotte area.
One of the things I'm struck by is, and I think it's great, I'd be wary of all the information only going from you to them. You need to collect some information from them.
Correct.
It comes back to you as well.
Okay.
To figure out if you have actually reached them and if they're eager to come to the school.
Like a community meeting in the area.
Right,
an
well-
interest meeting or something to
And
get
we'll
them
definitely
to-
have, of course, we do have that coming up as well too. Just give us the opportunity. We'll have, we are having another community event as well too, and we'll collect the data that you definitely will need.
When will that be?
That, we're planning that for November, the beginning of November.
Is it more than one? that you're planning?
We're having more than one event, November and December.
So
That
the
was
one
our
that you're having
plan.
in 2 weeks, what does that, tell us a little bit about that.
What, that event? Well, that event, what we'll do, of course, all the board members will be there. I've also sent out emails, social media emails, and to Bank of America. There's a mail program at Bank of America, as well as sending additional emails out to my contacts on email list, and all of our board members are continuing to do that as well to help with the solicitation of additional clients to come in, possible parents to come in to attend our events.
What you have you done social media campaigns at all to kind of get the word out as well?
Yes, we have, and we're continuing to do that on our Facebook. We have a Facebook page as well, and then we also have a LinkedIn page.
That we just recently added the Spanish version as well to try to reach different markets.
So year one, we're looking for 300 students?
Correct.
What, this is for the board, what number would you all be looking for them to have year one to say the demand is there?
Yes.
300 students.
300.
Well,
As far as 300 parents involvement?
If you look at your Facebook page, I mean, it's beautiful, but they have 2 followers and 0 likes. So
That
those
must
are
have
the
been
kinds of
older.
things like to really push.
Interest.
I think the answer to your question is that our own experiences with our own schools probably would give different numbers, right? I think that because you're not going to get 300 or 350 or 400. I'm signing on the dotted line for something that's not real until August of 2025.
That's true.
So we have to. But I know with my own school experience, when I was on the other side of this, when I was at that microphone, not this microphone, I was able to show, okay, we were going to open our school with 406 students. I did X number of community events and X number of parents showed up. Showing up doesn't mean their students going to come to my school, but golly, they took their time out of a Thursday night to show up. That means something. The social media, the survey work that we would do, capturing all of that to give a sense of, we've touched, we've been in front of 2,000 parents, of which X% said, yeah, we're super interested in this. Now, we could fumble the ball along the way before we open, and they don't want to become super interested. But so I think it's hard to put an exact number, and I think it's also, I think we all experienced when we opened our schools, you know, you over enroll. If I'm gonna have 406 seats to fill, I probably accepted 450 applications. But I'm in an area where that would work. In some areas, I better have 600 applications. Like, it's hard to.
I think with the age, like the grades too are, like, you have to consider what grades you're targeting. So for example, like what we see a lot now with a school that's targeting kindergarten and like the very young first couple of grade levels, especially kindergarten, is that parents in a county like Mecklenburg, you're gonna get parents who are applying to multiple schools. Like they might be applying to charters and magnet schools that CMS offers. And then once they figure out, okay, we got into these three, then they're gonna decide where are we gonna go. So with elementary school, I think it's even more important that you have a lot of, parents that are gonna have kids that are that age and think about having, more than what you're targeting for that kindergarten class for sure, because most parents are going to, they're gonna be applying to multiple places.
One of the best examples I've seen of people, like, after approval, having, every time you have an interest meeting, you have computers there to set up for enroll today, right?
Right now.
And QR codes everywhere, like have a QR code in all these banks and places you're talking about where parents can scan and get, because I think knowing how many applications you have, then you start calling people up and saying, are you committed to us, right? Even then, some of them are gonna say yes because they don't hurt your feelings, but for that part, you're really gonna be able to narrow down exactly what that number will be, and that work really happens after the approval. And, just sitting here thinking out loud too, not that I'm leaning one way or the other, but the RTO process also is, there's an expectation that you come out of it with 75% of your enrollment before, you've got to have 75% of what you said you're gonna have, so whatever that is of 300, 250, whatever that is. To be able to even go through to open the school to begin with, right? And I think we've seen examples in the past where we had warning signs in RTO, and they played out just like we thought they would play out, just throwing that out there.
To my fellow board members, I'm really, I think that there's something here. I would,
I do too, I agree.
I'd be okay with bringing them back in December. And, our process is we always have, okay, between now and then December, second interview, we provide them the questions that they need. I think this one, to me, is fairly cut and dry. The question is,
do you have interest?
what tangible work and interest has been developed between now and if we brought them back for a second interview?
So, okay, but if I may,
Please, push back.
If we get to that point, I don't want to give them the false impression that that's the only box to check, because I haven't even started in on single gender education yet. And I've got a lot of questions about the single gender model in this environment.
Fair enough, that's true.
Just a lot, if there's another chance there.
And I think that would be helpful if it does come back for you to give those questions to them ahead of time so they have time to be prepared to answer those questions when they come instead of cold turkey. Give some real thought through what your specific questions are, if that ends up being the case for a second interview.
I don't have any real marketing expertise, but it would seem to be important that you're marketing to actual parents as opposed to other organizations. Those organizations have to be able to reach real parents in order for it to be effective marketing at this point.
That's a great point, because we heard a lot of you're going to this organization, Bank of America, and this, getting into the, yes. Yeah, that's a great point.
It would help that, even just to be able to show the Facebook page has more than 2.
Right, I'm not meaning to be mean, but the last, if I'm looking at Murda Simpson Walker.
I think that was an old Facebook page.
Okay, well, I searched and I don't see another one. So if I'm going off the wrong information, I apologize.
You can share that with us in a moment. That's okay. It's really more of it's just really more of just making sure that we have
It's
a clear cut.
having the name out there, yeah.
All right. So does anybody ready to make a motion?
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna make a motion that, that we ask Myrtle Simpson Walker applicant to come back for a second interview, with the understanding that we're gonna send them very specific questions, between now and that second interview for the response, to respond to, as well as, them to come back and show us the fruits of their labor around marketing over the next couple of months. That's a
I'll
long,
second
that's a
that.
long motion.
That's a great motion.
So let's just say the motion is, I'm gonna request that we, I'm requesting approval that we bring Myrtle Simpson Walker back for a second interview.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second with Hilda. All right, any discussion? Okay, not hearing any, roll call.
Okay, Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Approves.
Alex Quigley,
Yeah, aye.
Todd Godby,
Nay.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
Bart Danielson,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
Okay, so it passes for a second interview. Pardon me? It's Stephen Gay.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
I didn't even know he was on.
It passes. Our office will be in touch with you about the December meeting. Yes, is it the sixth? Who knows the December dates? 11th and 12th, but we'll get you a specific one over the next month. And then we will also get you specific questions to respond to. So don't send any of the data or any of your, information until we've sent those requests, okay? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have lunch now.
Yeah, we're gonna break to lunch till 12:45, correct? Yes.
Yes, till 12:45.